Osamu, a boy who contracts the rarest disease in the world, meets his inevitable end. Waking up in a foreign world, he slowly unwraps his mysterious powers, realizing he has become a ghost. One fateful day, he encounters Iris Silverbullet, a tragic girl with a past rooted in misery, and being bullied as she cannot be killed. Thus begins the journey of the future god of death and the Immortal Witch, who betrays the corrupted people of the Holy Kingdom to create a new world order. Ravaged by the claws of a monster's hand, the poor girl embraced her certain end. Her feudal existence was about to be devoured by the beast, yet she yearned for such death. Then, a man levitating in the air appears to her rescue, as if to become her savior, as if to become the very hope that could bring her salvation. An important distinction that the boy had realized at a young age. No one in this world was immune to the absoluteness of death. In a local hospital, rumors of hauntings and ghosts of deceased patients run rampant. After hearing such rumors, they rarely resume their jobs without thinking about them. As was the case with a nurse, who saw a horrifying ghost before her eyes and jolted into fear. However, Osamu turns out to be a human figure, oddly wearing bunny flip-flops to maintain his drip, even beyond his inevitable doom. Oshima, the nurse who got scared, was afraid of the rumors. As for Osamu, he tries to comfort Oshima by saying that they can just prove the existence of ghosts with basic physics. Osamu expresses intrigue in ghosts beyond just the average person, mainly because he's curious about what happens after one's death. Osamu points to his long hair, claiming that he grew it upon the request of his mother. Oshima comforts him and applies level 10 baddie riz, telling him he'll look alright with short hair, too. Osamu contracted an incurable disease at the age of 9, called the Heartless. 30 years into the past, 3 doctors uncovered the disease, but did not find a way to cure it. The disease is prone to give the patient an insane sense of pain bursting throughout their body, malfunctioning one's organs. The disease is gambling casino lottery levels, rare to the point only 6 people have ever reported about its existence. One of those people is, unfortunately, Osamu, who enters the room remembering his mother's precious memories. His mother really hoped Osamu would be freed from the clutches of his disease. Osamu, even with his grim chances at life, aspires to become someone of value. During this contemplation, Osamu experiences another gruesome episode. Blood pours out of his mouth as his entire body freezes. But this time, Osamu thinks his life has come to an end. Having lost consciousness from Osamu's side, the scene shifts to another world. A world of goblins and beastly animals. Osamu regains consciousness and comprehends reality. After acknowledging his death, Osamu is certain he's returned to his memories. But something seems unfamiliar to him. Like any rational person, this blob of white thinks that he's entered a dreamlike state after fainting. After all, the demons before him couldn't be any real, right? Until one of them decided to shoot a sharp projectile at him. The projectile phased through him, much to Osamu's confusion. The maniacal monster rushed in his direction, while Osamu was frightened beyond hell that he'd die. Interestingly enough, as soon as the monster tries to strike him, the goblin disintegrates, as its life is zapped out of its body. Perplexed, Osamu looks for answers. He doesn't know what happened. After all, the most he did was raise his hand, causing the creature to die. Osamu's existence felt grueling, as if he had gained supernatural power. Following the death of the goblins, the other demons also tried to attack the ghost-like figure. Osamu tried to kill those monsters from afar, but the most he could do was slow them down. Once more, Osamu is overlapped with his incredible fear of death. Being overwhelmed with such a carnal fear, he manifests his true form and decimates the goblins. Some time passes, and Osamu is struck with confusion. Many questions ponder and bewilder his soul. There is only one logical conclusion that he has grasped. This is not his world, and he has the ability to siphon and drain the life force of others. It is as if the entity inside of his being commands him to consume energy and become stronger. Osamu's hands have returned to their human-like state as a result of such energy consumption and restoration. He peers at his visage in the pond, regaining his memories. Osamu questions if he has genuinely passed on. He knows that the bloodlust from his previous battle is too vivid to be a dream. Osamu's final desire was to live even at the edge of his death. This newly formed entity shares such a dream, having just gotten another chance at life. This time, Osamu declares that he will destroy anyone who threatens his path. In an effort to change his identity, Osamu decides to alter his name for the time being. He settles upon Shuark Light as his alter ego. Though he's decided upon a flashy name, there are no signs of humans around. Suddenly, Osamu's attention shifts to his left. Footsteps of approaching humans who have just discovered bodies of dead goblins. Midgel and Freddy arrive at the scene. Midgel and Freddy are bewildered. Only a ferocious creature beyond this forest could have annihilated such goblins. They decide to collect the ghosts and conjure an explanation for why a ghost might have killed them. During this moment, one of them casts a fireball magic, astonishing Osamu's eyes. However, the fireball magic fails to execute because Freddy is trash and all my homies hate Freddy. Midgel tells him that he's lacking in the visual aspect of casting magic. Midgel steps in, since Freddy is too much of a wuss to do it himself. Freddy, after feeling frustrated, decides to make use of his magical equipment, revealing a gauntlet. Making use of such a gauntlet, he's able to incarnate the bodies of the goblins, and has the gall to call himself a natural sorcerer like he's Gojo. They're suddenly attacked by more goblins, but Midgel captures them using her spells, followed by Freddy finishing them off. Since Midgel's magical equipment consumes much more power, it's best used on rare occasions. Miguel and Freddy decide to head home, allowing Osamu the opportunity to guess that they are students of magic. He has learned a bunch of things, most importantly that magic exists in this foreign world. Magic is deployed by the incantation and use of magic circles. There is also magical equipment, which are tools of magic to perform various spells. However, their drawback is the limited amount of magic they hold inside. Osamu relates this experience to his ability to siphon life out of others. Wondering if he, too, boasts this magical might, Osamu is intrigued in incinerating a goblin. Like the students, he carefully visualizes the exact element he needs to cast. Water comes to his mind, and he's well versed in the scientific composition of water as well. After all, Osamu is established as a knowledgeable person. Following the molecular composition of water, Osamu conjures the perfect visualization state necessary to cast and create a magic circle. Water flowed out of this circle, yet a mere few drops of it. Osamu questioned if imagery was also required. So, this time, he visualized the image of a water yo-yo from his memories. With both imagination and imagery at hand, Osamu cast a perfect water ball in a spherical shape. His body compels him to try new experiences and discover his limitations. Then, Osamu used the water ball to throw it at the dead goblins. He discovers that commands require more energy, and if he carefully does his research, he will have a weapon unlike any other. 3 months have passed. The students of the Magic Academy are entering the forest for training. First, they decide to scout some demons in the area using detection magic. Having used such an ability, a humanoid ghost is identified in the vicinity. However, Alice and the others are both shocked, as nothing of this sort should appear in this forest. Taking it as a challenge, they attempt to capture this ghost. Osamu is entangled by Alice's vines, but little do they know, Osamu is not an easy target. He easily casts a magic circle and sends Jazz flying into the air. The students are once again stunned. A ghost shouldn't be able to cast such magic to a supreme level of mastery, and here an example stood before their eyes. Osamu frees himself from the vines, and the mere sight of him scares them away. Later, Osamu defeats all 3 of them. It's his first time getting attacked by the students, and he wonders if they are attempting to kill him. While he's blindsided, an uproarious Jazz tries to kill him to save Alice. Osamu has no time in this world to save simps or foster friendships. He used his siphoning magic to drain the life of the students. His feelings complexed his being. It was as if he had become a monster that did not hesitate, even after disposing of humans. Jazz, who sees Alice's decapitated body, questions why they had to meet such a cruel fate. Osamu rests next to him and blames the boy for attempting to take his life, as that is one boundary he is unwilling to forgive. After draining all 3 of the students, Osamu uses his levitation ability to exit the vicinity. He knows the institution will come looking for him, so it's time for a new base. The scene shifts to the magical institution itself. They've shockingly discovered Alice and the others' remains. The headmaster is annoyed that Alice, a talented student, could fall victim to low-level creatures. Realistically, it seems inconceivable for Alice's group to lose a fight in the forest. In fact, they've even pondered the idea of contacting the army for an inspection of the forest, fearing a foreign invasion. The bald headmaster's orders restrict the students from entering the forest until it is deemed safe. Only teachers will be allowed to conduct investigations. Secretly observing this meeting, the students of the academy consider themselves lucky for not having ventured into the forest. Osamu sees a bunch of different ghosts all looming around him, and yet he can't make sense of them. After he had explored the forest, devouring monsters and strengthening his own being, the monster souls began to gather around him. He can't decipher much of their conversation, but he's seen as a higher god compared to them. This revelation has confirmed to Osamu that he's no longer inhabiting the body of a human being. One of the ghosts tries to convey something important to him, as if he is in a hurry. Sudden footsteps confirm Osamu's suspicions. The ghosts secretly spy upon the human instructors, who are entering the forest. They're investigating what could be the cause. Osamu is alarmed when the forest around him gets diced to pieces. The instructors have spotted the high-level spirit, and have thus decided to defeat Osamu for their students. One of the instructors summons a raven-like beast, which initially seems innocent and harmless, until it rips Osamu's flesh from his body in a mere instant. Osamu is shocked at the might of their magic, and he's certain these guys are stronger than his previous opponents. Osamu is convinced they're here to kill him. He panics because his agility is nowhere near the level of defeating and siphoning their lives. Osamu believes he's got one shot to kill them, a single attack, that he prepares to create the magic circles. A bunch of magic circles hover from behind, surprising both of the instructors. Then, multiple gigantic magic circles are carved into space. Much to the astonishment of the instructors, a high spirit shouldn't even be able to deploy such levels of magic. The funny thing is that Osamu intentionally used those circles as a distraction. They're not real, but it's good enough to make people alarmed. While they're busy contemplating the effects of the circle, the real circle Osamu opened is just a low-ranked spell. The instructor suddenly realizes that this is the same spirit who killed their students. He releases Pui to finish Osamu for good. However, Osamu is already done with his spell. He uses the circle to teleport, while the entirety of the area combusts into an explosion. The rest of the teachers realize that something massive is brewing behind the scenes. After the onslaught of the destruction, the trees are left to rot in ashes. Osamu specifically used the concept of picric acid to create a detonation. It was a risky maneuver on his part, but once more, his knowledge is the reason he survived. Osamu's body slowly recovers as he regains his lost magic. In fact, he's convinced that he's killed both of the instructors in this all-out attack. Osamu experiences another evolution in his appearance and state and senses more people drawing towards him. His best chance is to flee their sights, so he decides to exit the forest for good. Osamu heads to the capital of Ramza and notices that the teachers also come from this city. Osamu wonders if he can safeguard himself in this location, with the risks involved. On a different note, a lady visiting the cemetery is warned by a bunch of guards to leave the area. The guards assure the little girl that they'll protect her without fail. The guards aren't too worried about the undead, since they're mostly weaklings who are easy to fend off. Osamu is hiding in this graveyard as well, unbeknownst to their doom. He thinks that this is the ideal location to store magic, and thus decides to use it as his new base. Osamu's biggest concern is his fragile body, severing so easily after an attack. As for the skeletal monsters, they've arrived only to be devoured by Osamu's draining ability. Shifting perspectives to the anti-demon church, Class A, Knight Zek Baratsudo is summoned for an important mission. The priest informs him about the prophecy of the divine child princess. The prophecy entails a horrifying disaster ravaging their land. Zek is frightened and receives an order to investigate problems. He's informed about the situation of the deadly forest, as well as strange scenes observed in the graveyard. The priest thinks that the graveyard is coincidentally linked to this ominous prophecy. Zek is requested to uncover the abnormalities of the graveyard. Zek happily accepts such a mission. Zek's group later investigated the graveyard. The abnormality stems from the fact that the number of monster assaults has vastly decreased. Zek thinks that a skeleton would be too easy to defeat, but in this case, he's hell-bent on destroying any creature who stands in his way. Osamu's magic reaches its superiority after enhancing its physical composition. Having upgraded his level of magic, Osamu is able to defeat the skeleton monsters and has reached an even greater state of evolution. He can now perform magic freely with more reserves. Osamu understands the reality that he must take life from others to enhance his own being. He's learned yet another power, the power to deploy magic detection in a wide range of areas. He remembers the instructors using a similar ability and thinks that it would help him escape threatening situations. Osamu senses the presence of strong opponents and decides to exit the vicinity in advance. Unfortunately, they're so close that it's impossible for him to escape. Osamu comes to confront Zek and his men. Zek notes that the creature has quickly become the strongest of those in the cemetery, without a doubt. Deploying his magical spear, Zek declares the demise of Spirit. Osamu sparks conversation, questioning if they're to kill him as well. Unfortunately for him, the humans are incapable of comprehending Osamu's speech. Osamu deduces by their outfits that they're the imperial soldiers of the country. He's frustrated having to deal with people coming after him. This time, Osamu's ready to face them with his all-new arsenal. Alarmed by his powers, Zek tries to warn his men, but they're already engaged in Osamu's slashing sky domain. It functions similarly to Sukuna's malevolent shrine from Jujutsu Kaisen. All of Zek's men are split in half, leaving only Zek on the battlefield. Osamu explained that he had carefully studied the arts he could find in the cemetery. During this learning, he discovered he could absorb life at an atomic level within a location. Then, he could tether the molecular bonds, creating an effect that resembles slashing an opponent in half. The reason Zek is left standing is a testament to his strength, as the ability is weak to people with strong magical protection. Once again, this is how Gojo survived Sukuna's malevolent shrine. Zek's perspective is one of horror and confusion. He had never seen a demonic spirit so powerful, and so swift in his magical techniques. All of his trained men were diced to pieces. In a state of panic and anger, Zek turns to the monster responsible for slaying his men. In response to Osamu's carnage, Zek unleashes the holy powers, seeking to conspire revenge against this evil spirit. Osamu instantly notices that he's dealing with a magical weapon, which means he shouldn't play around. Zek prepares many of his projectiles to hack him down, kind of like Gilgamesh's Gate of Babylon ability. There are so many references in this manga, let me know if I've missed something. Osamu prepares a magical shield against the attacks. However, the holy projectiles merely phase through the shield and strike him down. Osamu quickly forms a counter-attack, redirecting Zek's own projectile towards him. The projectile pierces his body, as hundreds of thousands are redirected in the same manner. Zek's body is torn apart by his own technique, as he meets his impending doom. Osamu states that in a contest between magical powers, he would surely lose. However, he specifically used his knowledge of vectors of physics and redirection to redirect and destroy him using his own technique. To cope with his own recoveries, Osamu proceeds to siphon Zek's magic and reforms his body, gaining yet another evolution in his appearance. Since he faced a bunch of holy knights all at once, Osamu was able to enjoy a wealth of evolution more than his previous encounters. The nightmarish ghost has decided to enjoy himself in a demonic forest, where no one would dare step foot to look for him. After the demise of Zek, his body is brought to the high priest, who learns of the situation. The priest realizes just how lenient he is in making light of the prophecy. He's lost his friend and has gained immense hatred for the creature responsible. The priest swears to avenge his befallen comrade. After the Battle of the Graveyard, Osamu's new hideout is in the depths of the demonic forest. Here, a bunch of goblins are now under his command, welcoming their new master and informing him of the humans' entrance into the forest. Osamu orders them to prevent interacting with the humans. The goblins accept his orders, as Osamu has effectively become the master of all the demons in the forest. Osamu spent many days fending off the monsters with his magic until, one day, he subjugated the higher-leveled creatures, called the Goblin King and Pig Demon. After defeating both of them, their members became his servants. Osamu at first rejected them, but the monsters insisted that a strong leader of power was necessary for their survival. Osamu thought about them, and realized there weren't any disadvantages to this proposal. So, he accepted the offer, and became the chief of the monster village. Osamu is finding peace in a place without human intervention. He wants to lead a life of such peace, but unfortunately, something always goes bad for him. Osamu senses an astounding force of magic from close by. A girl is being chased by a monster until, eventually, the creature catches her, forcing her to use strengthening magic. However, because of her shaky skills as a magician, her spell doesn't activate, and she quickly meets her doom. Even after being pierced directly by the monster's claw, her body supernaturally recovers from the attack. This forces the creature to attack her relentlessly, all the while laughing at her demise. The creature is enjoying torturing her, knowing she will heal right away. The girl murmurs about the tragic state of her life. Her immortal state is a cage that she's found herself in. She begs for the aid of God, if there is such a being at all. Osamu observes this scene from above, and thinks he should defeat the monster at once. He glances at the girl, whose miserable sight reminds Osamu of himself. He remembers the promises that his family made, and the contributions they forwarded for his healing. a family that he cherished. However, it was written in stone for Osamu's life to end this way. The same feeling is captured in the girl's expression, an expression that screams, "I have a boring, miserable life." Interpreting this, Osamu kills the monster with a single attack, saving the girl from being tortured. The girl, confused, asks about his identity. Osamu emphasizes that he didn't save her, and internally reflects that her pitiful eyes of despair forced him to make a decision. He tells the girl that he acted for his own sake. Osamu tells her to return home, but the girl has yet to give up on him. Iris Silverbullet thanked him for his help and learned that her benefactor was Shu Archlight. Osamu intentionally hid his identity and asked her purpose for venturing into the forest. The poor girl tells him she failed her class and was forced to do quests until she ended up being chased by a werewolf. This has put her in a situation where she is becoming lost and requires Osamu's guidance. Osamu tells her she's actually not a failure based on magic power. Iris confirms that she boasts the most magic in her class, but her inability to cast and manipulate magic makes her a failure. Osamu tells her to just master the craft, but she explains that it's complicated. Iris possesses a magic armor with the might to grant her immortality. Basically, she's never going to die so long as her magic power is intact. Osamu is astounded by the concept of immortality. Too, it's another thing that he never knew existed in this world. Having come this far, Osamu has guided her way out of the forest. Iris is indebted to the kind man's generosity, while Osamu hastens to return to the forest. Iris is confused when suddenly she is attacked by a plant ivy. Osamu is thoroughly annoyed and dismantles the creature to shreds using his slashing sky domain. The creature is ripped to shreds, while Iris is horrified by the man's monstrous magic ability. At this point, she's almost curious to ask about his true identity. While she cutely pouts, Osamu tells her it's a secret. He's already done his part and tells her to return home. Iris throws a temper tantrum, but Osamu has had enough of her antics and forcefully teleports her to the location of the kingdom. The people all around Iris are utterly stumped, while Iris is baffled by the advanced techniques used by this mysterious man. She can't even fathom how he's capable of such powers. Iris is convinced of Osamu's godlike state, experiencing the joy of wanting to see him once again. In the city of Uldana, and in the confines of the Mage Academy, Iris returns to class only to get mocked and ruthlessly treated by her peers and teachers. Unlike the treatment the magicians gave her, the man she encountered in the forest was different. A man who kept his calm and was incredibly patient with her. A man that she cannot stop thinking about as she rests in her room. The following day, Osamu is instructed by his underlings that a human female is nearby. He tells his goblins to go away, feigning ignorance of the matter when, in reality, Iris stumbled into the forest only to get attacked by monsters again. Osamu is annoyed that she returned to the forest. Iris wastes no time and tells him she wants to be taught under him, as he boasts godly magic beyond the level of her instructors. She knows for a fact he's stronger than all of them. Osamu leaves her to her yapping and tries to run away. Iris plays the adorable card, but Osamu explains he genuinely doesn't know anything. However, a glimpse of her expression reminds Osamu of someone precious. The memories of his previous life are muddling with his current experiences, forcing him to accept her as a disciple. Osamu's condition for his teachings is for Iris to teach him about the ways of the world and knowledge of magic. Iris is stunned he doesn't already know this information. She settles on the deal after understanding his conditions. Osamu thinks he's scored a good deal to ensure his own survival. After all, it was a mere coincidence they even met each other. Iris begins to explain the fundamentals of magic, as it is divided into 4 elements and 2 poles. The 4 elements are further divided into 8 poles. Chanting and creating magic circles causes the production of magic. While Osamu understood such methodology using physics and logic, it seemed clear to him that magic was more complicated and had its own language. Iris tells him about the tiers of magic, as magic is ranked according to its complexity. The highest tier comprises magic from the 5th to 7th domains, and only the most complex of magic goes up to the 8th level. While there exist higher tiers beyond 8, they're beyond the realm of humans and unnecessary to understand. Now that Osamu has gotten the answers he requires, it's only his job to return the favor. Iris tells him she wants to learn about an impact strike consisting of wind. Osamu comprehends her demand using derivational physics and proceeds to use the attack she wants. Iris is impressed. He masterfully deployed the attack without an incantation. However, Iris, being the dunce she is, doesn't understand what happened. In fact, when she gives it a shot, her sorry ass can't even cast a magic circle for the spell. Iris collapses, while Osamu explains the triggering technique necessary to cast the magic in the form of a wave. He affirms to Iris that she does not understand the true nature of things in their essence. He compares it to being unable to play a character while reading a script. TLDR, the girl doesn't get it. It's not that she's trash, she literally doesn't get it. Osamu enlightens her with wisdom beyond anything she's heard. Osamu believes that magic requires understanding the true nature of the world. The words they're spewing are more than just incantations and require a deeper meaning. Iris self-deprecates and thinks of herself as a failure, but Osamu is willing to be patient with her and even strokes her curiosity to learn more things about magic. She smiles and writes a word in her language. Osamu suddenly realized that he had always been the curious type to understand the world. Osamu thinks he should consider a career in scholarly arts. Iris ends up casting the exact spell she wanted, progressing more than anyone has taught her in life. Convinced, Iris requests to learn more from Osamu, who shares a similar feeling and wants to learn the same from her. More time was spent, and what started as a relationship to take advantage of Iris became something important for Osamu. Iris, who had been a lonely girl that everyone looked down upon, had now received a person who could truly become her salvation. Iris Silverbullet struggled, and eventually became such a powerful magician that she was recognized by the church. Iris had officially graduated from the Mage Academy thanks to his teachings. They've been together like this for the past 2 years. Iris comments that Osamu has also lightened up as time went on. Osamu summarizes that he could feel his stifling emotions developing the more he interacted with the human girl. Now, he's even happy about her graduation. Osamu asks what she is to do after graduation. She tells him she'll become a holy knight at the church. The word holy knight floods a memory of Zek. Osamu immediately turns face and tells her it's time they stop interacting. He tells her he's a monster, and even after 2 years, she's failed to realize the fact. Iris ignores all of that and arrives to invite him to the inauguration ceremony. Graduates are revealed in the cathedral square each year, and Iris just so happens to be one of those holy knights for this year. Iris wants Osamu to experience the feeling. She's underwhelmed because she has no one to share her happiness with. Osamu accepts, making her beam with joy. The both of them dance together, hand in hand, enjoying the evening. Osamu arrives in the city, concerned by its unusual liveliness. One man asks if he's a traveler of some kind. Osamu, so far, has allowed himself to blend in with the crowd. In the Holy Church, the priest delivers the sermon to the next generation of the Holy Knights, who are appointed the duty to destroy all monsters in the name of God. The bishop himself congratulates Iris, especially since she bears the legacy of her parents. Iris exclaims they lost their lives during a fight with a monster. The bishop draws near her, reminding the girl that she'll be rewarded for destroying monsters. This ominous pledge strikes her colorless. Finally, the grand opening of the festival is here. The people are cheering the Holy Knights, as only a handful could ever even aspire to achieve such a noble position. Iris has received so many blessings since becoming a Holy Knight. At this moment, thoughts of following in her parents' footsteps befuddle the girl. Suddenly, she feels the all-familiar presence of her benefactor, the one responsible for helping her achieve her dreams. Osamu's presence comforts her, leading her to warmth unlike any experience. Later, they decide to sit down for a study conversation. Even though she should be celebrating, she's out here spending time with Osamu. Later, after the ceremony started, Osamu learned about the country while teaching Iris magic. However, she hasn't been enjoying her role, as bonding with the other knights is hard. All of her colleagues are men, making it incredibly difficult. Since they do stupid things and win stupid prizes, Iris has become proficient in healing magic. She also complains about a dude named Ymir, who annoys her way too much. Ymir pops up in the midst of their conversation, while she is ranting about him. Iris plays it cool, while Ymir mocks her for spending time with a poor guy. Ymir pompously remarks that Iris should maintain her dignity until he becomes her fiancé. Such ridiculous words spewing out of his mouth invite the attention of Osamu, who calls this man out on his bullshit and orders Ymir to back off. Receiving this remark, Ymir gets his dignity challenged and calls him trash. Even though he's supposed to be a holy knight himself, the mage basks in arrogance as he berates Osamu. Rising to his defense, Iris emphasizes that Osamu outclasses Ymir in every way. Intrigued by her words, Ymir explores what family Osamu belongs to. Osamu reflects he's incapable of revealing his demonic origins. Osamu explains that he's a nomad who doesn't want to become a holy knight and only seeks to discover the truth of magic. Ymir laughs at him, thinking that Osamu betrayed his family to become a trash scholar. He leaves them to their business, while Iris apologizes for what Osamu had to hear. Osamu emphasizes that he's fine and doesn't worry about such hindrances. He wants to spend time with Iris shopping so they can enjoy their moment. Unbeknownst to them, Ymir is secretly observing this interaction with a cold composure. Later that night, Osamu returns to the demonic forest. There, he casts a magic circle and attacks the holy knight waiting for him. Osamu notes that he's been aware of Ymir's presence all along. Ymir is impressed, but still calls him a small fry. Ymir is concerned about why Osamu would wander into a forest that guarantees the death of any magician. Ymir sharply observed that Osamu didn't order food at the restaurant. Ymir deduced then and there that Osamu is a monster who doesn't devour human food. Osamu reveals his true form, forcing Ymir to call him unworthy of Iris. He lunges in a forward slash with an invisible blade. Osamu notes that he's getting forced to fight him, but he doesn't know if it will negatively impact Iris. Thus, Osamu is bent on avoiding killing. Osamu tells him he's not going to fight for Iris' sake, but Ymir is one hell of a bitch, and declares he'll kill Osamu as his duty is to exterminate monsters. Osamu casts a magic circle without an incantation, shocking Ymir with his spell. Osamu delivers a cold message with a smile on his face, expressing the reality that Ymir is inferior to his powers. This man just called him weak in 2,000 different ways. Trash talk deserves trash talk. Infuriated, Ymir maniacally charges at him, all the while ranting like a child. He sees Iris as nothing more than an object to bring success to his family. Osamu, remembering Iris's precious smile, activates his slashing domain, shredding Ymir's body to pieces. As his headless corpse rests on the ground, Osamu comments that even he is a better actor than the pompous fool, who is now dead. Osamu then teleports his corpse elsewhere. The next day, Iris delivers the news of Ymir's death. Osamu feigns ignorance and acts like he is unaware. When Iris saw his corpse for the first time, she could identify the exact technique used to bring him down, as if to confront him, but Osamu sidetracks her suspicions. Iris admits that it helped her situation, since it allowed her to resume work normally. The perspective shifts to the divine child princess, who beautifully learns of her next prophecy. The princess sees two gates, one of brutality and the other of plainness. Both paths can be chosen, and yet she is horrified by the consequences to come. In the Mage Council, the matter of the Demon King or the Monster King is addressed. This creature is now confirmed to be at a level that far surpasses apocalyptic destruction. Though the prophecy is vague, they know for a fact that a Monster King is soon to be born. Realizing that the Eldora forest must have something to do with the prophecy, they decide to send a messenger to explore the forest. At present, the goblins of the monster village are enjoying their time in the forest. 5 years have since passed, and Osamu is beginning to enjoy his life with his underlings. These creatures have now evolved and become powerful, like the Goblin King. Osamu had been appointed to his position, and had learned of a new emotion called attachment. The goblins issue a new report to their master. Humans powerful enough to kill a bunch of the monsters have stepped into the forest. Osamu is shocked that mages powerful enough to kill evolved monsters have entered the forest. There is only one explanation. They're the holy knights who are sent to subjugate the monster village. He orders the Goblin King to set up traps, and, in the meantime, Osamu concentrates on using a recent spell to gain an offensive position. Osamu's greatest concern is Iris, who might be among the holy knights. He tries to quell his worries about running into her. The members of the church discuss the existence of a high-level monster creeping in the Eldora forest. They've also detected an estimated number of 300 monsters lurking in the forest, requiring a demonic entity as their leader. Normally, it would be an Ogre King or Goblin King, or even perhaps a regular Demon King. But now, the bishop is convinced of an even greater threat. A threat that is prophesied as the King of the Wicked Star, a monster that is capable of destroying entire countries at will. However, even they know the creature has yet to awaken its true powers. In order to act swiftly, they must make sure the future Demon King never acquires his true power. Their country's very existence is at stake. For the mission of the subjugation, many holy knights will be appointed to subjugate the monsters. Lord Zamishriff, as well as many other holy knights, are appointed, and finally, Iris Silverbullet is commanded to enter the forest the same. The remainder of the holy knights will be used to guard the country. Iris has been contemplating her position as a holy knight ever since she became one 3 years ago. She wants to make her parents proud and realizes that she is there to be sent to the mission at once. Even though Iris wanted to inform Osamu beforehand, she wondered if it would be possible to reach him in time. The scene reverts to Osamu, who is strategizing traps to confront the enemy. Osamu tells his men to stay on guard, as their opponents will be quite difficult to manage. For the time being, Osamu assigns the Goblin King in charge of his forces, while he's busy cultivating a new spell. Osamu has to hurry to complete this magic spell, but even so, it is something that requires more time and energy to build. Insight regarding his new spell is provided. Osamu is currently in the process of creating a magic circle that can shrink in size, so that he can use more powerful spells. He had already tested this spell on a prototype, combining various circuits to fulfill his needs. After a whole lot of yapping later, Osamu realizes that his imagination and magical power are lacking. He feels emotionally compelled to protect the village, evident in his development over the past few years. Suddenly, an explosion from nearby catches his attention. A while ago, when the Goblin King was asked about Osamu's whereabouts, he told his subjects the king was busy acquiring more power. The traps they set for intrusion alerted them of their enemies, which meant the Holy Knights were already on their way. Unfortunately, the goblins were slayed with ease, as the Holy Knights were confident in defeating them. Thus, the age of extermination of the Eldera monsters is destined to begin. Before stepping into the forest, the knights discuss their own battle strategy to gear up in teams of 5 to destroy the deepest part of the Eldera forest. Their operation began and led to the extermination of many goblins, as they were nothing more than fodder compared to their strengths. The Holy Knights activated their magic equipment to devour the goblins as well as the pigs, deeming themselves the strongest. They're starting to take the prophecy lightly, as even a bunch of newbies are breaking no sweat in handling the threat. Suddenly, the overconfident loser finds himself in a ditch, questioning how the monsters were able to weave such a unique trap. The terrifying goblin reaches out for the human above. Osamu had helped create this trap with a concealment trap. This would allow the goblins to finish the trapped intruder with a single strike. Just when the arrogant fool was about to lose his life, Holy Knight Round came to his rescue to save him. The knights discuss just how easy this task is, even though they've only slaughtered demons and pigs so far. Until they see an unknown person at a distance, Osamu looks to his right, and then glances at the slaughterfest of his underlings to the left. Osamu is absolutely pissed, as he orders for his slashing domain. Round immediately senses the danger of the spell, as his comrades are diced in a single attack. Round tries to negotiate with the humans, emphasizing that they're here to protect people. Round realizes that this man is beyond the likes of a human, as he's already slayed 2 holy knights with ease. As he prepares for battle, Osamu tells him that it's only necessary, as they've killed his people. Round's entire body faces the weight of gravity magic. To counter this ability, he deploys body-strengthening magic, and earns Osamu's respect. Osamu wonders just how strong this man is, while Round comprehends the level of sheer magic he used to cast such a spell. Round lunges forth to slay Osamu with his blade. Osamu is barely able to dodge his attack by means of teleportation magic. Even with how powerful he's become, Osamu still suffers a massive slash from his enemy, an attack that was aimed at his heart. However, this isn't enough to take him out. Osamu's body regenerates his lost limb, confirming his essence as a spirit demon. Osamu calls him an astute man for his observations. Round thinks it's perfect for him to unleash his true powers. He activates his magical equipment, while Osamu predicts his next move. The dangers of being struck by such an attack are lethal. No ability in his arsenal seems like an adequate counter. That is until Osamu tosses a vial that blindsides Round before his attack. Then Osamu commands the opening of his domain, and yet Round is still standing. He's declared his resolve that he will defeat this spirit no matter what. The thoughts of being killed resurface in Osamu's mind. Something like him shouldn't be destroyed. His fear of being killed overwhelms him, as he calculates each and every possibility of his survival. Osamu conjures up the necessary move, while Round declares that his next attack will finish Osamu for good. Osamu casts a magic circle right under him, a teensy tiny circle that Round laughs off for being such a cheap trip. He mocks Osamu for wasting his time, while his charge up of the attack has already been completed. Osamu finds the opportunity he was looking for, while Round lunges to use his final command. Completely contrary to his expectations, a portal opens from beneath and drags him into the ground. The very attack that Round had charged bursts out of the ground like a column of destruction. Unluckily, Round got eviscerated in his special move. Osamu turns to spot a defeated goblin, who apologizes for being so weak that he couldn't protect the village. In his final breath, the goblin requests he siphon his magic. He thanks Osamu for allowing the monsters such powers. Osamu proceeds to drain his subject's life, uttering the declaration of death for the Holy Knights. Samus is dozing off on a pile of monster corpses. Samus is anticipating the arrival of the one who is deemed the disaster level threat. He knows that the intelligence of monsters is enough to confirm their leader's strength. Samus is intrigued and wants to fight him. As for the goblins who are awaiting their impending doom, the Holy Knights easily release 5th tier magic to rip them to shreds. The sad goblins can't even defend themselves. The Goblin King was assigned the duty by Osamu. He knew they were all going to get decimated. The moment the Holy Knights are about to kill them, a being of tantalizing terror arrives. Osamu grabs their skulls as he commands, "Die," severing their flesh from their bodies. Next, Osamu coldly uses a transfiguration ability to kill another Holy Knight. A gruesome sight of the corpses of the Holy Knights lays before him. Suddenly, a water vortex manifests as Samus's body. He regains his form and gets severely pissed at Osamu for slaying his friends. Osamu observes the knight's unique morphing ability. He remembers Iris, who explained that magical armors differ in 3 types. This is the 3rd type that affects the user itself. Osamu tells the goblins to flee, while Samus prepares to strike him down. The Goblin King is disappointed that he failed to follow the king's orders. Samus advances to attack Osamu. The perspective shifts to Iris, who uses a thunderbolt ability to fry easy monsters without breaking a sweat. Iris' friend praises her for being a competent mage. They see a signal being fired from the captain, so they decide to follow suit. In the village where goblin corpses are left to rot, Iris learns from Kyle that their threat must be a unique monster to lead such a terrifying force of monsters. Iris recalls her past, as her parents were taken away while striking down a disaster-level threat at the time. Iris arrives to see Samus, who is still in one piece. Samus tells them to step away. Iris sees the body of the Goblin King severed by a blade. However, she can't spot the Disaster King anywhere. Then everything crashes as she spots Osamu, who has been captured by Samus' magic. Iris' expression draws blank as Osamu notices her. In one of Iris's memories, she remembers playfully enjoying their training sessions together. But now, Iris is perplexed as to why Osamu is captured by all people. She tries to reason with him, and even tells Osamu to get to town. The rest of the Holy Knights are astounded that she's familiar with the demon. Her superior tries to drag Iris, but she gives him a cold look, stating that this man would never hurt her. Samus is forced to ask if they know each other. Unfortunately, Iris is getting scornful treatment from her own people. They suspect her of betrayal, so in order to safeguard her, Osamu declines to know her at all. Osamu begs that she doesn't dig a deeper hole for herself, and instead follows what he is saying. Unfortunately for Osamu, he genuinely can't escape this deadly encounter. His ability to slash the domain is massively countered by Samus's water magic. There's also the fact that he can't overwhelm Samus with siphoning magic due to differences in power. The only person Osamu is prioritizing is beyond his own self. Samus laughs, embracing the hilarity of a Holy Knight being acquainted with the killer of his comrades. The Junior Knights are utterly shocked that their superiors got easily killed by this demon. Samus emphasizes that the destruction of this man is necessary, as he is a monster. Samus wants to confirm if she knows him, as it would directly be considered treason. Osamu jumps ahead to protect Iris, but Samus is looking for Iris' answer. Instead of denying a single word, Iris wholly declares that Osamu is her master. The past 5 years they spent together were of utmost importance to her. She couldn't have become a Holy Knight without him. Iris embraces her feelings, instead of accepting the situation Osamu created. She didn't know that this man was a demon throughout, as if she almost didn't want that to be the case. However, Samus is unconvinced, and deems her a traitor, forwardly attacking her at once. Osamu jumps ahead to use his absorption ability against Samus' magic. He capitalized on the situation, and deceived Samus momentarily. Osamu flicks Iris for being a big mouth, but Iris tells him that she doesn't want to become his enemy no matter what. Those words soothe him with momentary warmth, until Osamu is pierced by Samus' magic from behind. Samus declares that killing Osamu is their first priority. The rest of the Holy Knights prepare to deliver an all-out attack, while Iris begs them to spare him. In this assault, Osamu deflects all of their projectiles using deflection magic. Iris tries to get on her junior's good side, but in turn, she receives hatred for betraying the Holy Knights and becoming a witch. Osamu is entangled with multitudes of engaging magic. He's got nowhere to run, and the Holy Knights are out for blood. Osamu tells them that he prioritized his own life, as monsters and humans are no different. He doesn't understand why the act of living is so unforgiving for him. The Holy Knights unleash a powerful attack to destroy Osamu, but then he commands the use of another deflection spell. Osamu's final concern is burning the ivy and freeing himself. Unfortunately, he is struck by Zamus' magic and is about to meet his impending doom. Zamus tells him that his efforts are futile against this attack. Osamu sees the blade and contemplates his existence. In the end, he thinks he can't protect himself. Then, the hopeful words wind impact, deflect Zamus' slash as the blade misses its mark. Osamu frees himself from the vines, while Zamus is pissed as hell after seeing Iris Silverbullet finally picking her side. Iris shoved past her role as a holy knight and directly confronted Zamus, the captain of their subjugation unit. Iris can no longer watch Osamu get killed, while she does nothing. Osamu even admits that he would have been literally decimated by now if not for her attack. With both of them distracted, Osamu quickly constructs a plan to get past this situation. Iris is attacked by Zamus' lethal strikes as multiple tendrils of water pierce her skin. Zamus knows that her magical armor bestows immortality, but even then, he's torturing her body with constant attacks. Zamus' colleague cares for the defeated Iris and copes with the situation, thinking that the demon has fooled Iris. Zamus gets befuddled by such an odd explanation, but the senior is bent on proving that she's protecting the demon out of love. Zamus still doesn't want to pull his punches. The two of them confront each other while Iris lies in an inanimate state. Osamu comes to her and feels her tears. The spirit takes his stand and, without hesitation, activates his slashing domain, severing the heads of each and every knight in the area. Even Zamus is pissed and ruthlessly engages to kill him. Osamu tells him that he will kill Zamus for good. Activating his demonic ability, Osamu absorbs Zamus' entire existence. Now, the same terrifying being inside his body commands him to become a newly transformed spirit, a race utterly separate in existence. Osamu unleashes his final form as the Spirit of Death. Iris reawakens after Osamu frees her body of Zamus' magic. Iris Seniors all lay defeated, while she's experiencing conflicting emotions after realizing he's a demon. Osamu apologizes, but refuses to take an apology for her men, as the very monsters he enjoyed his life in the forest with are now no more. They've all been taken away from Osamu, and he refuses to cut more losses by protecting Iris. After all, Iris is the one person who wants him to live. Osamu questions if she hates him now. Instead of hatred, Iris feels a sense of liberation. She wanted to spend her life with Osamu, but as her duty as a holy knight, she had to return to the kingdom and report to the bishop that the great demon king had annihilated everyone, so that they could never step foot in the forest again. Iris internalizes that she's throwing away her comrades under the bus, and yet, even after accepting her foolishness, there's nothing more she aspires to do, as this man has saved her life. The both of them embrace each other as Osamu makes a promise. Osamu promises that he will protect Iris' existence, even if he has to defeat the entire world for it. Hearing such words, Iris becomes flustered and accepts his feelings. Osamu intends to stay in the forest, while Iris plans to head to the city. Even if she doesn't return, Osamu will catch her. The report of the Holy Knights being annihilated by the Demon King shocks the members of the church. Having sent so many Holy Knights, just one survivor returned. Iris Silverbullet marks her return. The bishop asks for the report in detail. Iris explains that this monster is a mutated Demon King with otherworldly magical power. She couldn't speak regarding Osamu's existence, and they'd send an army into the forest. Iris decides to persuade them using herself as bait. She tells them she was spared as a messenger to relay to the kingdom that he's not going to attack if the humans don't tamper with the forest. Her words introduce confusion and raise many questions. However, one man, a devious priest, exclaims that there is a liar among them. He spots the contradiction in Iris' words, as even her immortality is limited by her magic prowess. The defeat of Zamus is the biggest concern. There's also the fact that she's the only person who survived. Iris' entire body shakes up from a fear that is unknown to her. The man grips her by the hair and claims that Iris is lying. He demands her to spill the truth, but yet again, Iris tells everyone the demon is responsible for killing everyone. Iris confesses that this creature is a spirit. Not only did he overpower the captain, but he also shredded the Holy Knights to bits. The abilities of the demon shock even the bishop. He refers to this class of creature as a king monster, beings that could evolve and awaken, so much so their powers are considered laws of magic. Thus, the prophecy of the wicked star is the identity of the monster king. Iris' body forces Osamu's name, making it a fulfilling prophecy of the divine princess. They can't fathom how 20 holy knights were defeated, as their strength compares to 200 regular soldiers. Turmoil is caused within the church as the people blame the bishop's inadequacies. They confront the bishop for feigning a reputable name. The rest of the forces want to take on the Demon King so that they can defeat him and avenge their comrades. Iris interjects and tells them that Osamu won't cause them any harm, and even reveals that the man is her master who taught her magic. The priest hounds her for manipulating her friends and leading the Holy Knight's deaths. He pins the blame entirely on Iris, even though she does her best to defend herself. Even the bishop is satisfied with this explanation, as it saves his face in front of the public. Iris is busted for good, and only her public execution now remains a sight to be seen. Meanwhile, Osamu is experimenting with the depths of his newfound powers. He's acquired something called death magic, which can kill any target with a single touch. Osamu has become the god of death in one regard, but at the same time, he's at risk of accidentally killing Iris until he masters his powers. Even his poor little phantoms are scared of approaching their master. Osamu turned off his powers so that they could approach him. He remembers them quite similar to Iris' cute expressions. Worried, Osamu heads to town and learns that no one is inside. Suddenly, Osamu is horrified to realize what happened. Iris is being taken away outside of the kingdom. Osamu realizes that Iris' bravado did not end up in her favor. He tried to search for her, but there was nothing he could find. Osamu is convinced that she's being held captive at the church, so naturally, he goes out like the boss he is to take the fight to them. Remembering that the cathedral is the headquarters of the empire, it's inevitable that Osamu is in for a tough battle ahead. Osamu tries to avoid the direct approach so as to ensure Iris doesn't get hurt. In his human form, he enters a state of contemplation when a young man asks if he's brought some money. The man is supposed to be the delivery guy to the chef, who reports the sour mood of the bishop. While he's busy rambling with him, Osamu safely enters the site without being detected. Osamu was able to gaslight this man into believing he had come to find his sister. Osamu walked into the church, thinking that he was a demonic being surrounded by humans. In fact, he's been helped throughout this journey, as people have been kind enough to do favors for him. Osamu then hears the ramblings of a man who talks of the traitor witch, Iris. He even beats up a dude and adopts his outfit to ask more about the story. Osamu's new alibi is that he's just returned from a foreign country and doesn't know what happened. They start from the beginning by explaining how there was an attack and only one knight survived. Osamu questions where the traitor is being held. When the man reveals that she's been taken to the capital to be burned, Osamu shivers at the realization. While they're laughing, Osamu adopts a cold look to question why they're so happy. One girl even makes the disgusting remark that a traitor deserves such treatment for going against the church. She was even her classmate and bullied her many times, but this part she kept away from revealing. The girl continues to make fun of Iris, infuriating Osamu to the point he grabs her and demands an apology. Instead of apologizing, the foolish girl even accuses Iris of prostitution. One question bothers the juniors. How does this man, who had just come to this country, know Iris' name? In response, Osamu roars, saying that it is because she is his dear disciple. Saying those words, he materialized in his demonic form to rip apart the girl. Having adopted this demonic form, Osamu demands a formal apology from the girl. But instead, she swears at him. Osamu isn't so forgiving, so he painfully siphons her entire existence to the point she dissipates into thin air. The rest of the students try to contest him foolishly and receive a gruesome end. Osamu demands an answer to find out about Iris's location and learns that she's been taken to the northeast. The man laughs in his face, stating that it would be impossible for him to traverse the distance that would require 10 days. He laughs, thinking Osamu's going to lose, but the Demon Emperor happily tells him he can traverse the distance. This is thanks to his acceleration magic, requiring him to speed up without worrying about obstacles in the path. Osamu is tired of the man's yapping and eventually kills him. Then, he is confronted by the people of the church. Osamu really doesn't have time, and activates vibration magic to sense precisely what he's looking for. Underground, he senses a water vein, and processes to set up multitudes of magic. Now, Osamu is able to see the world that Iris has lived in throughout her life, and how the people have treated her callously. Having seen such a corrupted world, Osamu is hell-bent on destroying it entirely. And thus, the cathedral faced total collapse as a steam explosion annihilated everything in its path. From among the destruction, the people spot the demon levitating in the air. The bishop barely made it out of the destruction, and realize that the power lines up with the divine princess words. Osamu wastes no time with these weaklings and unleashes all of his powers to siphon every holy knight in his path. After silencing the people and demonstrating what he can do, Osamu regroups with his phantoms and flies away, leaving a bloodbath of destruction behind. The Ramza Kingdom is his destination, and an execution ceremony is underway. Deep in the confines of her cellar, Iris is rotting while thinking about Osamu. The guards of the dungeon are the average NPCs, talking about the strangeness of a traitorous holy knight. They're shocked that the girl is maintaining composure despite her planned execution. Iris thinks she messed up, blurting out more information than she should have. She remembers the face of the man who had been distrusting her, hating her existence from the start. Iris is hungry, and despite her situation, she feels confident in Osamu. She remembers his words, how he'll rip the world apart to save her. Iris wants the two of them to live an easy life ahead, living together beyond time. Just as she is enjoying such mellow thoughts, the bitch face arrives to tell her it's time for her to go. Iris gets slapped, as the man had long predicted her betrayal. Iris doesn't comprehend what he means. Now that her life is going to end, he decides to tell her anyway. Iris remembers the man's face, as he was the one who delivered her the news about her parents' death. This clown calls her parents a bunch of fools who have sunk into the underworld. Iris doesn't know what he's talking about, as she was told they were killed in battle. In a twist of fate, the evil man confesses that he's the one who finished them. The event occurred 18 years ago in a disaster-level subjugation mission. Daria and Rose were the leading commanders, while Gremlin was following their lead. They did uncover and corner the Dark Knight, but then the leader gave an unusual command. It could be seen that Daria had an empathic heart and recognized that the Dark Knight only tried to protect the child. Gremlin couldn't comprehend such an act and even wanted to subdue the child. Daria told him that they were not evil enough to do such a thing. Daria's men tried to rebel, but it was a decision that he had made. He was a man who truly cared for others and wasn't afraid to voice the truth. Rose, who sensed his compassion and love for humans, supported him. Gremlin felt completely betrayed, as they were trying to let both the child and the Dark Knight roam free. At that moment, while Daria was caught off guard, Gremlin committed a horrific crime and stabbed Daria through the chest. He was a man who had lost himself in a pointless pursuit of the divine. Rose was stabbed the same, and eventually both of them were killed. Gremlin felt the most satisfied and even disposed of the Dark Knight. He couldn't subdue the child because he ran away. Gremlin purported many lies and escaped punishment after burying their bodies. After learning that the both of them had a daughter at the time, Gremlin could not help but escape to their house to find the girl. He relayed her the same news and even tried to kill the poor child. Unfortunately, this sick man was unable to finish the job due to his sorrowful luck. While Iris had lost the memories of this incident, the sick man always knew. Iris feels an emotional outrage, but her body is too weak as she is dragged to be executed. Iris weeps as she is about to meet her doom. Gremlin is having the time of his life, enjoying the scene. Finally, Iris is tied to the stake, starting the execution ceremony. Gremlin sullies Iris' name as a traitor among all. He happily announces her impending doom, and even emphasizes that her magic armor of immortality will only protect her until she runs out of magic powers. Gremlin is confident of his victory, and rambles about how she will also be guided to the underworld. As the girl weeps, the horrific people eagerly await her execution. Even the children are manipulated in God's name. One boy doesn't understand why a witch would betray God. Iris internalizes that her parents became holy knights as good people, and she aspires to become just like them. She ended up facing a brutal life, a life of thorns, merely because she desired to become a knight. And yet, as the flames began to incinerate her body, Iris thinks that her life didn't work out. The humans tortured her, killed her parents, and even became responsible for killing her. Iris, at this critical moment, forsakes her humanity. A demon like Osamu ended up showing her more kindness than any other person. She remembers Osamu's first words to her, and as she glances above, she sees the man she has been anticipating all along. Osamu erases her restraints and grabs her. The people are shocked that the monster dove right into the flames. Osamu declares that she will take her, and reminds Iris that he will come to her aid no matter what. Gremlin the psychopath orders his men to attack Osamu, but it's pointless as the demon emperor thinks their powers are even weaker than Zamus. A single command is released by Osamu, death, as everything that he absorbs turns into nothingness. Iris sees his magic, deeming it to be a sight to withhold. The demon had become the god of the underworld, Hades himself. Osamu accepts his moniker. Iris makes a personal request to kill Gremlin. Osamu casts burning magic to give him a painful and slow death. The empire crumbles as the man's ashes are turned to dust. Osamu declares that he is unforgiving of the god they worship, and that he will annihilate the entire country by dawn. It is his promise that he will usher everything to hell if the people challenge his might.